Alright, today we're doing the shopping list that can save you a lot of regret. The 3 worst and 4 best SUVs you should buy in 2025. And I'm not talking about this one looks cool on Instagram. I mean powertrains, drivetrains, efficiency, chassis behavior, safety tech, packaging, and yes, the painful part, what you actually pay. Here's the hook. Imagine you're spending 30, 40, 60,000 on an SUV, and 2 years later, you realize you bought a vehicle that's either underpowered, overpriced, or engineered for a use case you don't actually live. That's not a small oops. That's a multi-year subscription to frustration. So let's cut through the hype and get brutally practical. We'll start with the 3 worst buys, because pain is a great teacher, and then we'll finish with the 4 best buys, because hope is the only reason we're all still doing car research. First up, worst buy number 3, the 2025 Ford Bronco Sport, starting at $31,695. Now let me be clear, the Bronco Sport is not a bad vehicle in the it's going to leave you stranded sense. The problem is the value equation. At this price level, you're shopping in one of the most competitive categories on the planet, where packaging and drivetrain refinement matter more than a rugged nameplate. Here's where the Bronco Sport loses points technically. It leans heavily into the off-road personality, standard 4x4 and all the branding. Yet most people buying it will spend the vast majority of their miles on pavement. And on pavement, the things you feel every single day are noise isolation, steering calibration, transmission behavior, seat comfort, and ride control over broken surfaces. The Bronco Sport's mission pushes it toward compromises that can feel unnecessary for daily use. Even the towing story tells you what it's designed for. With the right equipment, it can tow up to 2,200 pounds on Big Bend and Outer Banks, and up to 2,700 pounds on Badlands. That's fine for a small trailer, but it's not a tow-focused SUV. So if you bought it thinking Bronco equals adventure equals hauling stuff, just understand the ceiling is lower than the vibe. And then there's the pricing ladder. Once you start stepping into the trims and packages that make it feel worth it, bigger screens, driver assist bundles, appearance packages, capability packages, this thing can climb quickly. And that's the trap. You start at $31,695, then you build your realistic spec, and suddenly you're comparing it against SUVs with more space, more refined drivetrains, better efficiency, and a calmer ride. So the Bronco Sport's problem isn't that it can't do cool stuff. It's that at its price, it doesn't deliver the best daily driving return per dollar unless you genuinely use the off-road capability often enough to justify the compromises. Worst buy number 2, the 2025 Jeep Wrangler, starting at $32,690. This one is going to be controversial because the Wrangler is a legend and legends have fandoms, but we're talking about buying smart, not buying a poster. Technically, the Wrangler is engineered around 2 big priorities: off-road geometry and open-air modularity. That means solid axles, high-clearance hardware, removable doors and roof options, and a structure that's designed to take trail hits and articulation forces. That is awesome if you're regularly off-road, but for daily use, those same decisions create trade-offs you feel constantly. The steering isn't built primarily for razor precision at highway speed. The shape isn't optimized for silent airflow. The tires and suspension setups that make it confident on rocks can feel busy and loud on rough pavement. And when you combine that with modern pricing, the Wrangler becomes a heart-over-head purchase very fast. On paper, yes, it can tow. Jeep even advertises up to 5,000 pounds of best-in-class available towing on certain 4-door Rubicon configurations when properly equipped. But towing capacity isn't the whole towing experience. Wheelbase, stability, rear suspension behavior under load, and how the transmission manages heat and gear hunting under grade matter. The Wrangler can do it, but it's not the most relaxed tow vehicle in the world. And then you get into the high-output halo stuff. The Rubicon 392 hits the bragging rights ceiling with 470 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, and Jeep even claims a 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds with that V8 setup. Cool? Absolutely. Rational? Not for most buyers, because the price and running costs jump while the day-to-day compromises don't magically disappear. There are also electrified versions that are genuinely interesting from a torque and drivability perspective. Wrangler 4i's models are known for that instant torque feel and a combined system output that's been quoted around 375 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque. Again, very cool engineering. But we're grading Best Buy, and the Wrangler still brings a very specific lifestyle tax. If you're not living the Wrangler lifestyle, it's one of the easiest SUVs to overpay for emotionally. So the Wrangler is a classic example of a vehicle that can be objectively brilliant at its mission and still be a poor buy for the average shopper. Worst buy number 1, the 2025 Chevrolet Tahoe, starting at $59,500. Yes, the Tahoe. And I know what you're thinking. How can a big, powerful, capable, full-size SUV be a bad buy? Here's how. It's the fastest way to spend a huge amount of money to solve problems you might not actually have. Let's talk engineering. The Tahoe is a serious machine. The base powertrain is a 5.3-liter V8 paired with a 10-speed automatic, and higher trims can bring features like advanced driver assistance, huge infotainment screens, and available hands-free driving systems. Packaging is a major strength too. Chevrolet advertises up to 122.7 cubic feet of maximum cargo volume. That's real space. But the issue is the cost stack. You start at $59,500, and even on the trim ladder, you see pricing like the LS starting around $59,000, LT around $62,000, and it climbs quickly from there. Once you add popular equipment, you're very often pushing into a price zone where you could buy premium brand SUVs or a better balanced mid-size 3-row plus another vehicle for the household. And then there's efficiency and mass. You can't escape physics. A full-size body-on-frame SUV has real advantages: towing stability, durability under heavy load, and that big road presence feel. But unless you're towing frequently, carrying a big family plus gear constantly, or genuinely using the space regularly, you're basically paying a lot for capacity you're not using, and fuel consumption you'll definitely feel. So the Tahoe isn't a bad SUV. It's a bad buy for most people because it's an expensive solution looking for a problem. If you truly need it, it's a tool. If you don't, it's a luxury tax disguised as practicality. Okay, enough pain. Let's get to the good part. The 4 best SUVs to buy in 2025, where the engineering and the price actually make sense. Best buy number 4, the 2025 Hyundai Palisade, starting at $37,200. The Palisade earns a spot here because it's one of the most complete, real-life SUVs in its class. Not just nice for the money, I mean a seriously well-rounded package with strong everyday usability. Under the hood, it's built around a 291 horsepower V6. That's important because for a 3-row SUV, you need torque delivery that doesn't feel stressed when you're loaded with people, cargo, and maybe a roof box. Hyundai also positions it as a towing-capable family hauler, advertising towing capability up to 5,000 pounds, depending on configuration. That puts it in the conversation for small campers, boats, and utility trailers, again, depending on how you equip it. But the real reason it's a best buy isn't a single spec. It's the integration of the whole package: space planning, comfort, features, and a driving character that's designed to be calm and predictable. 3-row SUVs live and die on how easy they are to use every day. Getting in and out, loading kids, folding seats, doing road trips, and not feeling exhausted after 2 hours behind the wheel. The Palisade is tuned for that job. The price is also the point. Starting at $37,200, you're paying mid-size 3-row money, not full-size money, and that gap can be tens of thousands by the time you're finished. If you need 3 rows, this is one of the cleanest buy smart picks because it gives you real capability and space without forcing you into full-size SUV cost and fuel appetite. Best buy number 3, the 2025 Mazda CX-5, starting at $29,050. This is the one I recommend to people who want a compact SUV that doesn't feel like an appliance. The CX-5 is a masterclass in chassis tuning for the price. It's not just sporty. It's controlled. Steering feel, body motion, and braking response all feel intentionally calibrated. Technically, Mazda gives you 2 personalities with 2 engine strategies. In the standard trims, you get a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder producing 187 horsepower, and Mazda pairs that with standard i-Active All-Bood. Right away, that matters. You're not paying extra just to get all-weather traction hardware. Then, if you want real punch, the turbo models step in with the 2.5 dynamic pressure turbo setup, and Mazda explicitly quotes output up to 256 horsepower on recommended premium fuel, along with up to 320 pound-feet of torque. That torque number is the story. Torque is what makes an SUV feel effortless in normal driving, merging, passing, climbing grades, and carrying passengers without constantly downshifting and sounding angry. Pricing is also super transparent across the lineup. You're starting at $29,050, but you can scale up. For example, a carbon turbo starts at $37,200, and the turbo signature goes to $41,080. That range matters because it lets you pick your sweet spot. If you want value, stay near the bottom. If you want premium feel and punch, move up, but you're still usually under what many competitors cost for similar performance and interior quality. The CX-5 is a best buy because it delivers something rare. It feels engineered, not just assembled. And at its price, that's a big deal. Best buy number 2, the 2025 Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, with a starting MSRP around $32,850. If you want the spreadsheet answer, the SUV that nails efficiency, traction, and everyday usability without getting weird, the RAV4 Hybrid is it. Toyota's hybrid system in the RAV4 Hybrid is rated at 219 net combined horsepower, and the key is how it delivers that power. Hybrids don't just save fuel, they change drivability. Electric torque fills in the gaps at low speed, which means smoother takeoffs, less hunting for the right gear, and a more consistent push when you're rolling in traffic. It feels like the drivetrain is always awake. It also comes with standard electronic all-wheel drive. And I want to underline what electronic ABUDIDE means here in practical terms. You've got a system that can distribute torque without needing a traditional mechanical center differential setup in the same way older systems did. In many real-world situations, rain, light snow, slick ramps, uneven traction, it works extremely well. Toyota also includes logic like trail mode, which can act like a virtual limited slip strategy by sending power to the wheels that can use it when traction is compromised. Efficiency is a major part of why this is a best buy. Toyota quotes up to around 40 mpg combined in the lineup depending on configuration, and that's the difference between "I guess fuel is expensive" and "I'm not thinking about fuel every week." So the RAV4 Hybrid is the anti-drama pick. Strong efficiency, proven hybrid architecture, practical size, and enough capability for most real life. It's not the flashiest SUV, but it's one of the smartest ways to spend your money. Best buy number 1, the 2025 Honda CR-V, starting at $3,100 for the base model before destination, and $31,495, including the $195 destination charge. This is the new replacement you asked for, and honestly, it belongs here. The CR-V is one of the cleanest engineering meets reality SUVs in the segment. It's roomy, efficient, and it offers 2 very different powertrain personalities, depending on whether you choose turbo gas or hybrid. Let's hit pricing first, because this lineup is broad. The base LX starts at $30,100 before destination. If you want AWD on the LX, you're at $31,600 before destination. Step to the EX, and you're at $32,350 for Tudo or $33,050 with AD. The EXL goes $35,000 for Tuo or $36,500 for ADA. Now hybrids, this is where the CR-V gets extra interesting. The Sport Hybrid starts at $34,650 TD or $36,150 with AWD. The Sport L Hybrid starts at $37,650 or $39,150 with ADA. And the top Sport Touring Hybrid comes standard with ABE and starts at $41,500 before destination. Now let's talk powertrains like engineers, not like marketers. On the turbo side, Honda quotes 190 horsepower and 179 pound-feet of torque. That torque arrives in a broad band, which matters because it affects how relaxed the engine feels when you're accelerating from low speed without flooring it. The result is a compact SUV that feels quick enough without being thirsty. On the hybrid side, Honda quotes 204 horsepower combined system output and 247 pound-feet of torque. That torque number is exactly why hybrid CR-Vs feel so satisfying in daily driving. You get the immediate response off the line, strong mid-range pull, and less of that rev, wait, and then go sensation that some small turbo engines can have. But the CR-V wins beyond numbers. The platform tuning is balanced. It's quiet enough to feel premium in normal driving. The packaging is excellent, meaning the cabin feels like it was drawn by someone who actually carries people and stuff. And the trim strategy makes sense. You can buy a base model that's genuinely usable, or step into hybrid trims that feel like a real upgrade in drivability, not just a badge. So why is the CR-V the #1 best buy? Because it's the rare SUV that you won't outgrow quickly. It does commuting well, road trips well, bad weather well, family life well, and it offers a hybrid that doesn't feel like a compromise. It feels like the better version. Now let's do a lightning recap, so this is crystal clear. If you're trying to avoid regret in 2025, the 3 SUVs I'd be most careful with are the Ford Bronco Sport, starting at $31,695, the Jeep Wrangler starting at $32,609, and the Chevrolet Tahoe starting at $59,500, because each one tempts you with an identity, but can punish you on the value side unless your lifestyle perfectly matches the mission. And the 4 SUVs I'd confidently put on the Buy Smart list are the Hyundai Palisade starting at $37,200, the Mazda CX-5 starting at $29,350, the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid starting around $32,850, and the Honda CR-V starting at $30,100 before destination, or $31,495 including destination. And here's the final filter I want you to use before you buy anything. Don't shop by nameplate. Shop by the job. How many people, how much cargo, how often you tow, how often you deal with bad weather, how long you keep cars, and whether you care more about efficiency, comfort, or performance. Because the best SUV isn't the one everyone talks about. It's the one that quietly fits your life so well, you stop thinking about it. If you found this helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to Auto News, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next buyer's guide. And now tell me in the comments, which SUV would you buy in 2025, and which one is the most overrated?